A strong Mars is also capable enough to take you to the heights, to the pinnacle of success. Because that energy, that passion, that willpower, these are exactly the elements that you need to rule, to dominate, to be successful. You will see some sort of transformation coming in your life. Like you will see a phoenix rising in you. That is what this Mars can do. You are going to be a person, if you can set your eye on some goal, some target and objective, you are not going to sit silent unless until you achieve that objective. Hi guys, welcome back to Vedic Astrology. I know I had taken a break for a while, but I needed that and I was not keeping well. But now we are continuing with our series of planets in all houses. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Mars, presence of Mars in all houses of Vedic astrology. Now, what does Mars depict? Mars, as you would have seen in the thumbnail, shows your courage and action. It is your willpower. It is your ability to take action upon the decisions that you want to embark. You see, he has been given the role of a commander. That is why in many readings we notice that Mars is also seen as the significator, as the Karaka planet that can bring you in terms of any roles that demand leadership, that demand you to command and take actions, that showcase your willpower, your determination. And thus, courage and action are also the roles which are depicted in any kind of military forces, in the army, navy, whatever you may call it, in terms of defense forces for that matter. It is also shown as a role within police segments. Administrative authorities can also come within Mars itself. Why? Because they are the commanders for the government. They form the government in a way. And thus, any kind of action oriented roles in the entire leadership organization, be it private sector or public sector or the government sector, is what will be seen from Mars itself. So, a strong Mars can actually be pivotal. It is a critical element. It is one of the most important planets that will showcase that whatever kind of career that you're trying to shape in life, how you are going to grow in that career, what kind of a success, what kind of an action oriented mindset you will bring to the table is seen from the presence and the strength of Mars itself. It is going to show your courage. And when I say courage, guys, do not just anticipate it to be the fight that you put in terms of physical element itself. It is your willpower. It is your ability in terms of your mindset as well. It comes from deep within. So this Mars is going to be responsible for that courage, for the action-oriented mindset. Also showcase your strength and stamina. Because when you are about to pick up that fight in life, say you fall sick, you're not keeping well, your sixth house is troubled, you are facing loans, litigations, you are under tremendous pressure from collections department on the loan that has been dispersed to you and not you are not able to repay off. You are in a particular job role and there is so much work pressure on you. Do you have the strength, the stamina to come out of that, difficult health situation, fight back that adversity and recover? Do well in terms of paying off that loan, do well in terms of your career and answering your bosses that yes, you are worth it, you are a capable person and you deserve to do what you are doing. Strength and stamina comes from Mars. Because at the end of the day, it is connected to that willpower itself. At the same time, the physical strength and stamina can also be seen through Mars itself. So, how strong is your body to overcome your health situation? How strong you are. And that is why you would notice a lot of bodybuilders, weightlifters, athletes who need their physical self to exude their energy and deliver something out in their life will have a very strong place dignity of Mars in their chart. Either Mars will be exalted, or it will be present in the 10th house, Lagna, in the 3rd house, 6th house, 11th house, 9th house, for that matter. Or it would be getting a very strong Nij Banga as well. The avastha of Mars will not be ideally in, in infancy or dead, mrit, or, I don't know the Hindi of the same, but avastha is the stages in which the planet is, uh, present at. So is it in adolescence? Is it in youth? That is going to give you that level of strength. But a dread Mars, or an infancy Mars, can give you strength if it is in good placement in good houses. But you might struggle in certain areas physically. You might struggle. You might, fever if hits you, flu hits you. It will take time for you to bounce back physically, but your willpower can still be strong. You will have fears, but you will be able to bounce back if that placement is good for this Mars. If your Mars, from your passion perspective, Mars is a planet which is going to see that how much of a zeal you have to pursue your passion. All of us, we are passionate about something to the other, but do we actually pursue the careers in the area that we love? Do we actually take actions about things that we are crazy about? So many of us, we grow as, in our childhood, where we aspire to be actors, where we aspire to be athletes, play a certain sport, or follow a certain passion that ignites us. Some of us would want to do something with, related to plants or music or think something vocational, and yet you are not able to pursue that. Your Venus could be strong enough, but are you able to make it sustainable to your life or not? That energy, that fulfillment is going to be seen through Mars. And that is why, even if you are a person who does not have his Lagna, ascendant, moon related to the Mars energy, you're not an Aries or Scorpio, not too many planets present there, you will still have to see the dignity of Mars to understand how will you be able to fulfill your passion in that space. You see the histronics with which I talk? That is Mars. Why Mars is strong. But I will not disclose the avasthas. Why I keep falling sick? Why do I keep? There are other challenges that I face. It's something that you have to, when you see and interact with people, when you see that how they are communicating, you will be able to read through as to how that planet is performing in their chart as well. So Mars is going to tell you that how much of an energy and passion you are going to have. He is also the significator of your assets, especially land and property. Especially, you know, when we talk about land, yes, Saturn also signifies that, but it is more so on the agricultural side of things. But when it comes to building a house, apartment, that sort of an asset that you consume for yourself, your cars, any kind of intellectual property, any kind of uh, soft digital asset that is related to some calculations, or it has some algorithm related to it, all of that is going to be Mars. Please do not confuse it to be Rahu. Rahu is not assets. Mars is going to depict your movable, immovable assets in this case. And thereby, the strength of Mars, the dignity of Mars in your horoscope, in your chart, will also tell you that what sort of assets you will build in life. Yes, your 4th house will definitely have a significant role to play in that area, but presence of this Mars in different houses, its strength is going to be an indicator as to what kind of assets you are going to accumulate, especially land and property. From a relationships perspective, this Mars is going to talk about your siblings, and within your siblings, also very specifically, your brothers. Your cousins are included as part of your brothers and siblings in when we are counting for Mars. I see sisters and cousin sisters more so from a Mercury perspective. But the macho element of it, the male energy of it, is seen coming in from Mars. And it is your strength. Brothers are supposed to be your strength, who are going to fight along with you, stand by you. And Mars dignity, its conjunctions, aspect on Mars is also going to tell you what kind of quality of outcomes you can expect from this Mars, from your brothers, from your siblings, the quality of relationship that you enjoy with them, the kind of aggression that you bring to the table. Because at the end of the day, it is your strength, how confident you are in terms of taking that energy out to the external world will be seen from Mars itself. It will show your leadership. It will depict your career as well, as I was talking about a few minutes back, because he has got the responsibility of that, of the commander in the value chain. He is the commander for the king, for Surya, for sun. And thereby, a strong Mars is also capable enough to take you to the heights, to the pinnacle of success. Because that energy, that passion, that willpower, these are exactly the elements that you need to rule, to dominate, to be successful in your own business, to be climbing up the ladder in the corporate world. And a lot of times, if somebody is not interested in pursuing a particular profession, if you want to be a homemaker, say, then having a very strong Mars, especially, in the second house, in the eighth house, can be a tricky situation because it can create a lot of turbulence. In the fourth house, a lot of turbulence for your family, for your environment. But from a career perspective, a strong Mars for you to pursue your passion to the external world is going to be especially empathetic. And when we are talking about career and profession, Mars denotes electricity, he denotes fire, he denotes, uh, machinery, heavy equipments. Yes, Saturn also has an overlap in that area to a certain extent, but engineering equipments, automobiles, engineering within automobile, the engine part of it, that can be seen from Mars. Electric cars can be seen in that combination, not the software bit, because it will have an element of Rahu as well involved there. But from a Mars perspective, fire, any kind of transformative careers, occult sciences can be seen. Because remember, Mars is not just the ruler of Aries, but also Scorpio. Everything hidden, everything transformative, everything challenging is going to be connected with Mars. And that is why a lot of times in these two houses, you will see especially the energies of these two, the significances of Mars coming into foray wherever Aries and Scorpio signs are falling in terms in your chart. So you will see that you will be pumped up for respective areas along with the placement of Mars in your chart. Now you have to also understand that while we're talking about engineering, fire, electricity, Mars is also a mathematician. In fact, true mathematician is Mars in the entire ecosystem. It's not Mercury. Mercury is the skill that you bring in mathematics, in data science. But for Mars, the sharpness of or the ability to solve complicated, challenging questions, that energy to go deep into it, because he rules eighth, he rules Scorpio. So solving is going to be with Mars. And that is why you will notice if you have a good placement of Mars in your chart, you will also enjoy mathematics, or you can succeed in areas related to mathematics, even on the software side of things when you are doing your algorithms and stuff. Mars has to be good enough, along with probably other factors coming into play, which is Mercury, Saturn, and bunch of things. And we can talk, because I know this is where some extraordinary individual will come and type, hey dude, my Mars is not strong enough, and yet I'm excelling in software development. Dude, there are tons of things you can utilize. You can use a Stack Overflow, and I can go into that depth as well. And I'm not a engineer by profession, by qualification, yes. But the point you have to understand, that sharp thinking is a factor when it comes to mathematics that will be dependent on the strength of Mars. Now, will every person having strong Mars be good in mathematics? Answer is no. And that is where logical reasoning comes into play. A lot of competitive examinations aspirants come and watch my videos. So for you guys, will enjoy this. Not everybody having a strong Mars will be strong with mathematics, but somebody who is strong with mathematics will definitely have some or the other good placement or dignity of presence of Mars in their chart. Mars also is going to showcase the spirituality in you. Why spirituality with Mars? Because Mars has three aspects. It's got the seventh aspect, fourth aspect, and the eighth one. And I will be making a separate video where I will be talking about specifically the aspects of these planets and what do they mean. Because Mars touches upon the aspect as well, he's the ruler of Scorpio sign as well. He understands the nitty-gritties of what happens in terms of transformation into the deep world underneath, the hidden, the unknown. That is also a connection towards spirituality, because eighth house can be significator of spirituality as well. Is the earlier stop before the final pit, which comes in the 12th house. And that is why Mars is a deep significator of spirituality as well in a person's chart. And with that eighth aspect, Mars carries that protective energy as well. Your aspects of Mars will tell you that what sort of things you will be protective about in life. So I hope this gives you enough clarity as to what are the significances. What does this Mars mean for you? And if we've understood that, now we will double click, understand what happens when Mars is present in a specific house in your chart. Now, guys, when Mars is coming into the first house of your chart, what you will notice is that all these significances and traits of Mars will be eluding in your personality itself. You are a person who will be action oriented. Courage will be there. But the magnitude of that courage, the ability to take that fight in a physical form or from an emotional or mental perspective, will depend on the dignity of this Mars. So you have to look into the Ashtavarga scores. You have to look into the Shadbala of your Mars as well. You have to see what kind of a sign placement it is in. Because if it is combust, if it is debilitated, if it is in an inimical sign, there will be certain challenges that will come along with it. But more often than not, what you will realize is that this is going to be giving you a temperament of action oriented. An action oriented mind will something that will naturally come to you. You would want to act upon the thoughts, the passion, the goal, the objectives that you've set for yourself. You are a person who will have energy. Yes, can result into lethargy as well at times if, let's say, Mars is the lord of your 4,000 coming into Lagna. But more often than not, when you put your brain, your mind into something, you will bring that true energy to take it to fruition, to accomplish that objective, to accomplish that task. If you make up your mind, you will be acting very fast towards it. Generally speaking, you will be good with mathematics, but you could have tendencies of making silly mistakes. You understand how this is panning out? Silly mistakes if that Mars is afflicted. I was just doing a reading today of a person who's from Mumbai, and I just told him, your Mars is sitting in Cancer. You are good, sharp-minded. Mathematics comes naturally to you, but this is where you will struggle. The guy acknowledged it in the kind of assessment he had. Works in investment banking. So the construct of this Mars significances will be very evident in a person, that leadership quality. You will be able to go in a mission-oriented, goal-oriented mindset when you are chasing something. Even if you are a non-working professional, if you are not working for your profit goals, say in the phase of life where you're a student, you are a homemaker, you will realize that it is reflected in your energy at home as well. Mars denotes fire, I said at the start. Ability to work in the kitchen for a homemaker. Act, act fast. You have to, prepare one thing for one part of the family members, something else for somebody else. That multitasking capability and making multiple things happen in the kitchen is going to come with this Mars energy. Beautiful placement from that perspective. Yes, will give you some temper issues as well. Ill-tempered at times if it is afflicted. Very strong anger issues. The kind of language that you might possess, especially if it is in connection with mercurial sign or Mercury itself, can be turbulent for you. And that is something that is going to rub off in the aspects of this Mars as well. Remember, I told at the start of the video, it has three aspects, fourth, seventh, and eighth, which is going to be evident. Transformation is something which is going to be key in your life, some way or the other, be it your profession, be it your personality, from your health perspective, body shape and form. Transformation will become evident if Mars is in the Lagna. You will, you could be a person who enjoys to do workout, who enjoys to do, um, physical activities, hitting the gym, taking up any kind of sports. Interest in those kind of matters will be heightened for a person like you when you have Mars in your first house. Engineering mindset, mathematical mindset, real estate related thought process will come naturally for you in this place. You could benefit out of all those avenues, all those factors as well. At the same time, your mind always races. It moves fast. Why? It gives an aspect to the fourth house. Your mind likes to think that what can be done, what can be accomplished in the limited time and avenue that you have. This energy could rub off on your partner, on your spouse as well. And when I'm saying partner, please consider all partners. See, Mars coming in the first house brings that Mangal Dosha element as well into play because of that aspect to the seventh. And that is why a lot of times delays could also happen. There is a lot of negativity around people who've taken readings from me and who've had Mangal Dosha. You guys know how I try to tell you to play around this thing. There's a lot of negativity around this thing. You have to simply understand, with Mars in first, you will do well with partners, with spouse who have the ability to absorb that energy in you. Because more often than not, Mars in first house could be misinterpreted by the external world itself. That is a challenge. That receptiveness has to be with the right set of people. As a Scorpio, I understand that Mars energy deeply well as an individual, beyond being an astrologer. So I'm trying to give you that perspective that when you have this sort of a placement, you need to be around people who can absorb that energy as well, because you are a person who's full of energy. Transformation is key for you. You are having the ability to pivot in the significances of Mars, rulership of Aries and Scorpio, and whatever sign it is sitting in your house, in your chart, and with Mars sitting in your first house, you will see some sort of transformation coming in your life. Like you will see a phoenix rising in you. That is what this Mars can do. So it's a beautiful energy, guys. There's a lot of negativity that so many YouTubers spread about. I would want you to think beyond that. All right. Now, if this has made sense, we will talk about Mars in the second house. Mars is a second house is a tricky placement because now that energy is coming into your family. And usually, if you plan to be a homemaker, or even in ancient books and scriptures, it is mentioned that Mars in second house for a woman is considered to be a much more challenging position because it can bring a lot of quote unquote argumentative tendencies. Now, why did I say argumentative tendencies? Mars has that energy, that passion, and it is coming into the house of speech. It is coming into the house of communication in an informal setup. So when you bring that energy, when you bring that passion in your ideas that you want to express and communicate to the world misconstrues that she or he is a argumentative person. She or he pushes around their point a lot. No, that is not. That is not the case. There is a lot of misunderstanding that also comes when Mars is placed in the second house. Somehow the receptiveness becomes tricky, and this is what you have to learn to rule with your placement of Mars in the second house. You have to find that balance in your energy, especially an exalted Mars here or a debilitated Mars as well. Any kind of wild extremes can be very, very tricky because it can take your choice of words to the worst possible that you can imagine. Even the mercurial signs or a connection with Mercury can be tricky in this case. Mars in second house is generally tricky from a communication perspective. And that is where you will have to continuously work in terms of learning the art to put your thought process along with the right choice of words so that the world can understand and consume what you're trying to portray, or else it can be detrimental situation. This Mars in the second house also makes you very, very curious about kitchen, about chef. I told you Mars is fire, it is energy. Yes, that Mars fire is coming into the house of family, into the house of relationship, into the house of communication, but this is also the house of food. So you would be a person who would want to, at a bare minimum, if not experiment in cooking, you are a foodie at heart. You want to try different things. You, you would be a person who would feel bad if, let's say, something different is made and you are not being offered. You have that passion and love and desire towards food. There is a craving that is automatically built with Mars in the second house towards food. And the interesting part is, if somebody highlights it to them that, you are almost paranoid towards food and, the amount of food that you could consume, it can almost lead to gluttony. You feel extremely paranoid and upset, and you do not like that. You don't like to be pointed about how you consider food as a part of your life. Yet, like good cuisine, when somebody talks positively about it, you open up and you share with enthusiasm. That passion and energy that I was talking about comes naturally to you in this case. So it excites you. You like to discuss about food. You like to try different things you want to consume. And if you like some particular stuff, you tend to hog onto it. You bring that gluttonous behavior when it comes to certain set of foods, especially being a sweet tooth. Mars in second house can do that. You have to look into your Venus placement, or else it can lead into diabetic kind of issues as well, issues related to um, uh, high sugar count. But Mars in second house will bring that tendency. Communication, as I said, you will have to be watchful. You will have to be watchful with respect to your food as well. You could be working in an industry or sector which is related to electrical engineering, fire engineering, construction in general, land, real estate, property. That can bring you a lot of wealth in this space as well. In fact, your family profession could be related in that space, or somewhere or the other in your lineage, in your lifestyle, somewhere land, real estate, property is going to bring you wealth. So Mars brings very positive outcome from a wealth standpoint. He is very frugal by nature. Mars is extremely frugal by nature. Some people might call it miserly, but no, it is frugal. He likes to keep things under control, but sometimes it can go out of control as well because he moves fast. He likes that fast moving energy, that fast moving pace, but his mindset is frugal. He will take the action, he will take the decision fast. And thereby, a lot of times when Mars is in the second house, or it is giving an aspect to the second house in different, from 11th or from the 8th or from the 7th, you will realize this thing, that these kind of people, they might think about small aspects, but they would suddenly make a very big purchase, and it is obnoxious for anybody else to understand why they are doing it, but that is how the Mars makes them, you know you could be having issues with respect to temper as well at home, and you will have to monitor that particular aspect here. Mars will be giving an aspect to your fifth house as well. From its fourth aspect, it will be giving an aspect to your eighth house and your ninth house as well. Now, from a fifth house aspect perspective, decision making with respect to education is going to be extremely critical. You could be also very well entrenched, embedded in terms of your child's education, or decision making on their part. A relationship with your children is also going to be critical, and you have to keep a certain level, certain degree of control as to how you operate, or else it can bring in certain challenges there too. Mars gives an aspect to your seventh house. Again, as I mentioned, in the Lagna perspective, when it is giving an aspect to the eighth house being in the second, just like its aspect to the seventh house from the first, you will have to see that are your in-laws able to absorb your energy or not. Sometimes in some cultures, people consider this also as a yoga for Mangal dosha because it is sitting in the family. It gives an aspect to your ninth house. Long distance travel, frequent travels are possible in your chart. There could be discrepancies, misalignment with respect to energies from your bosses, superiors, or with your father as well. So you will have to be very sharp in terms of understanding that what sort of a communication works out for you. I generally, what I've noticed is that there is a difference in opinions with your children, or with your father, or both. And that is why I said that Mars in second can have a lot of confusion, misalignment from a family perspective. And it becomes tricky from that angle itself. Now, we will talk about Mars placement in the third house. This is an interesting placement because it has its own set of positives and negatives. Third is the house of Kama Trikon. It is the first house of Kama Trikon. It is considered to be a difficult house, Trik Bhav, as they say, and it is a house of struggle. And when a malefic like Mars, an energetic planet like Mars, comes into the third house, it brings its level strength into this chart. You are a person who is driven by their own hard work, driven by their own energy, with your own ambitions and goals. You will realize that your style of communication is going to be very expressive, aggressive, full of energy, and to a certain level, you will have high elements of extrovert tendencies in you, especially in your formal setup in the outside world when you are going and communicating at your workplace, not in your informal setup within your family and friends. You will realize that you will exude a different level of energy, a different level of passion, strength to the larger world. And that becomes extremely interesting because now what you will find is that that energy, that leadership skill, that stamina, that strength that you carry in you, your your shoulders, which is also your third house, all of it is going to reflect in how you conduct yourself to the world. You could be enthusiastic in terms of sports, you could love bodybuilding, you could have interest in terms of any physical form of hobbies that you want to carry in your life. Your communication will have that level of energy. You will have very interesting bond and relationship with your siblings. And when I said siblings, more so with your brothers, which is what I had alluded to at the initial part of the video as well. You could have a lot of support if the dignity of Mars is good, Ashtavarga, Shadbal, as well as the sign placement, which becomes absolutely paramount critical in this position as to how you will enjoy the support of your brothers in tough situations in life. In a turbulent case, you might have to literally fight a battle against them or for them as well to overcome those negative pending karmas of Mars in third house. But more often than not, what I've noticed is people with Mars in the third house placement are extremely enterprising in nature. Now, when I'm saying enterprising in nature, it doesn't mean that they are running their own enterprise. Well, people have asked me that sort of question as well. No, it means that ability to do things by themselves. You don't need a push. You don't need somebody else to come and tell you, hey, Dave, do this. You need to do this thing. No, nothing of that sort. You have that push within you. You have that instinct within you to work hard to accomplish things. Remember, this Mars is giving an aspect to the sixth house as well, to your daily regime, to your daily schedule, to your job place, to your work front, which means that this placement of Mars brings a lot of discipline in you. It brings a lot of balance in you. You are a person who, if not having a conflict of Mars in the chart, you are a person who will bring a lot of that rigor automatically. You don't need anybody to push. You will have the tendency to overcome your challenges, obstacles. Yes, you might feel down, demotivated on occasions, but this Mars will continue to help you revive, even if its avastha is dead, adolescent, youth, or infancy, whatever you consider. It is going to revive you. It is going to give you that rising of the phoenix that Mars is associated with and help you fight back, overcome those litigations if you're stuck in one, help you repay off that loan that you've been struggling to pay off. It will give you that energy to put that fight back at your workplace. Very good for people who are in the law industry, legal industry, something that relates to communication, because Mars, third house, makes you a good lawyer as well. You have to see the dignity of Saturn, of course, in your chart, but makes you an extremely strong, competent lawyer, attorney, barrister, whatever you call it. I was speaking to a barrister from London. Was it today or yesterday? I forget. But that a lot of times those energies, that connection with Saturn is very, very important for this Mars. Imagine an exalted Mars for a Scorpio ascendant here in the third house. Beautiful placement, but can also make you extremely enterprising. It can give you the ability of running your own business, your being self-employed, running your own startup. Why? Because Mars is in the third house, bang opposite to seventh. You will go against the principles of the family, against the principles of the father at times. You could be a rebel by nature because you want to establish your own principles. You want to portray that to the world that what you are capable of. And that is the beauty of this Mars. I like such enterprising folks personally. Who doesn't? So when Mars is in the third, why is it's bringing that discipline from a sixth house perspective, ability to overcome your health situations if you face one. But at the same time, it is giving you that rebel mindset. It is giving you that ability to change something, create something which is different, something which is the out of the ordinary from principles perspective, from a protocol perspective, because ninth house is your bosses as well, it is your superiors as well. You will try and push the boundaries, you will try and go beyond the protocol. And it is giving an aspect to the 10th house. Your karmas are going to be energetic. Beautiful. But you have to find that balance within your siblings, within your family as well. You will have to understand that at what point in time you draw that line so that it doesn't cause turbulence within your family, within your relationships. So when Mars is in the fourth house, what you will realize is that this is a place which is the natural house of debilitation for Mars. Why? Because Mars gets debilitated in the sign of Cancer and exalted in the sign of Capricorn. And we will go into the explanation of that in some other video as to why that happens. I've done a brief of that earlier too. However, we have to understand that in this position, Mars gives an aspect to the seventh house, the 10th house, and to the 11th house. This is the next position where you find that element of Mangal dosha coming into play. And I would want to emphasize that there is a lot of negativity about this Mangal dosha, but it simply means that you have to be with a partner who is able to deal and absorb the kind of energy that you bring to the table, the kind of passion you exude, the Martian qualities that are there should be absorbed by somebody. And only then you will find success in your partnerships, in your relationships. But Mars coming into the fourth house, a house which signifies your wealth, your real estate, your movable, immovable property, your knowledge, your emotions, your sensitivity, your mental peace, your mother as well from the fourth house itself. And when Mars comes to this placement, what you will find is that one or the other elements of this will have that that action orientedness, that fast paced energy, that passion, which could be impacting any of these significances of the fourth house. Your mother could be a person who might have temper issues, who could be, who could be short tempered, ill tempered as a person. Or on the other side of things, she could be a person who's highly action oriented. She's a person who carries that will to make things happen fast. Being frugal in terms of expenditures, in terms of savings, is a tendency that you will see with your mother if Mars is in the fourth house. They will be very frugal by nature. They would not want to spend exorbitant amount of money unless and until Venus is playing some role somehow. And Jupiter doesn't matter here. But Mars is going to make that person frugal by nature. Make quick decisions. Whenever spending is required, they will do it. But they will do it at the right place. Not like spending money, like crazy shit. That's not going to happen. When Mars is in the fourth house, your emotions could be racing very fast. You could have a tendency of thinking a wide variety of ideas at the same time, processing things extremely fast in your mind. You could be good with mathematics. You could be able to understand topics which are scientific by nature, engineering by nature, yet you might have a tendency of making silly mistakes, sudden mistakes while you are approaching them. Mars in Cancer, Mars in fourth house energy can bring that element in you. Because it's in a place, and again, the sign of Mars is going to be extremely important, but because it is in the fourth, that energy is going to retain itself. So Mars here will also bring in that level of authority, that level of leadership in your actions within your family itself, in your clan itself. You will find that you have some level of commanding nature within your clan, some kind of key decision making, some kind of growth that has to come. You could be a person who shapes how your entire family is going to grow over a period of time. Your quest for knowledge will be very high. You would want to learn new things and a wide variety of things. At the same time, Mars in the fourth house can be very good if you are associated with real estate business, if you are associated with any kind of land and property dealing, flipping houses, flipping properties, apartments, buying one and then selling it across and for a higher pay, doing some kind of remodeling, re-engineering. That re-engineering bit is extremely important. Making your calculations in place as to what can work out and what cannot is something that you will naturally have a sense in this Mars placement. You could also be an enthusiast, interested towards buying good quality vehicles. You might want to purchase an electric vehicle or a gas guzzling, fast paced engine car. That could be of interest. People with this kind of a combination, especially boys, even girls, will have posters, their wallpapers in their laptops, in their phones, such stuff. You are a person who would keep on scouting reels to figure out what is the next real estate you want to purchase, what is the next property, kind of remodeling initiatives you want to take when it comes to your house. How do you want to represent it differently? That is what this Mars energy is going to bring in you. But your thought process in terms of acquiring a lot of information is going to be stupendous. Remember, this is your throne. Fourth house is your throne. And when Mars is giving an aspect from here to the 10th, you are going to bring an extraordinary amount of energy at your work front as well. But that will only be applicable when you feel that poise, that comfort in the kind of sector you are operating in. A lot of times people choose the right or wrong industry, the wrong job profile. And that is where this Mars might feel helpless. It can make you extremely uncomfortable if you are not enjoying the profession you are in. So you need to see the 10th house placement, the 10th lord. But if you are in a karma, if you are in a role where you are able to utilize that energy properly, you will realize this Mars is going to give extreme impetus to how you go and rule. You will be sitting at a throne with this Mars placement itself. This Mars is giving a fourth aspect. Extremely protective, possessive energy is what you bring towards your partners, towards your spouse, towards your relationships. Very protective energy. Possessive to a level of madness sometimes. And that is where you will find that with this placement, a lot of time your partners will feel as if they are chained, they are bound. They feel, and it is not that you want to shackle them down, you want to bring them down. It's just that you are protective about them. And thereby it becomes extremely important for you to articulate and communicate it across, or else it can be detrimental for your relationships as well. That is where you learn to rule your planets. That is why you are watching this channel and this video today. So you must know how to accomplish that in your relationships, or else it can be a reason of turbulence. Mars here is giving an aspect to your 11th as well. And this is going to make you a chaser of dreams. You are going to be a person, if you can set your eye on some goal, some target and objective, you are not going to sit silent unless and until you achieve that objective. But what kind of energy, what kind of aggression, what kind of support you bring with this Mars, as I mentioned in the thumbnail of my video as well, is going to be dependent on the Ashtavarga, on the Shadbal, on the strength, the dignity of your Mars. And we will do a series followed by this where we will talk about the placement of Mars in different signs as well. So guys, you have to combine all these videos and playlists that I'm creating so that you get a comprehensive analysis of what is going to work out for you. All right. Now we will talk about Mars in the fifth house. Mars in the fifth house is a good position. It is coming into a trine house. It is a pious house. It is a house that represents your past life karmas. And when Mars is coming into this house, it definitely gives us a message that the native is a person who would have accomplished certain high end goals, objectives in their past life. Some level of accomplishment is depicted from this position of Mars. It's a natural house of shine. It's a natural house of glory. And when Mars comes to this placement, you will realize that mathematics, in terms of your education or your children's education, your kid, when you have, if you have, is going to be good. More often than not, it is going to be good. If you do not see that reflection in you, it is going to reflect in your kids. Usually, your understanding of mathematical topics, STEM subjects, is going to be extraordinarily well. Engineering mindset, engineering education is going to be good for you. You will be good on the technical side of things, so to speak. So, from an education perspective, you will find yourself shining in this placement. The second observation that you will find about yourself is that you have to be watchful in terms of how you go about making your decision making in investments, be it stock market, be in terms of purchasing any kind of real estate. Remember, it is the second to the fourth. In terms of your decision making for going into any kind of educational pursuits, because Mars is a planet of rush. He wants to make a decision fast. He wants to move ahead with it. He's not a fool. He is a smart player. But because he tends to act fast, there are possibilities that if this Mars is not in one of its fullest dignity and fullest strength, then you might end up making some very key mistakes in life. This Mars gives a lot of desire, a lot of energy to accomplish things. Creativity will come naturally to you, but creativity in what matters? In the way you rule the world. You will have creative ways to rule the world. What do I mean by rule the world? Be it you are an influencer on social media, be it you working in a job in some sort of industry, any industry for that matter, and how you climb up to the next level to achieve that leadership, that commanding position. How do you bring fame to yourself? If you are a homemaker itself, how do you use your creativity in your kitchen? Remember, Mars's kitchen, it is the stove, it is the fire. How are you bringing that creativity in a fast paced environment? Is going to be reflective of people who have Mars in the fifth, without a doubt. And spontaneity, thinking on the feet. Like when you have this kind of a placement, ask these questions, ask any of the question to these people. And the spontaneity with which they are going to respond is going to be surprising. So this is a placement that brings a level of creativity in a fast-paced environment, in a fast-paced decision making for you. But you also have to be careful with respect to your relationship with your children. Can give you issues. Your children themselves could be highly tempered by nature, highly energetic by nature. That Aries or Scorpio behavior could come in your kids itself with this placement of Mars. From here, Mars is going to be giving an aspect to the eighth house. It's giving an aspect to the natural house that he owns. So, transformation in your life could happen because of your education or post your childbirth. Romance can bring transformation in you. And remember, fifth house is the house of romance. Mars coming in here is going to make you extremely passionate by nature. It necessarily doesn't mean that you are going to have multiple relationships. Of course, you need to have a look on Rahu on in the combination of Venus as to how that is panning out, and they are going to play a more, critical role in terms of giving an indication. But Mars himself, his presence to the fifth house, is going to give you that courage. You are going to be boundless in terms of your expression in romance. You might take very different leaps of expression towards your partner, and that could be extremely charming and interesting to them. But at the same time, that romance could also bring some level of transformation in your life. Your relationships could see a lot of transformation itself. You could be protective towards your partners. You could be protective towards the kind of decisions they are making. And if that is not in control, it can make you highly possessive by nature as well. It is giving an aspect to your 11th house as well as your 12th. So you have to be watchful towards your expenses. And spirituality also becomes very critical. So people with Mars placement would also have mantras capability, ability to learn mantras and imbibe that in their life. But you are also a chaser of dreams. You would want to accomplish your goals no matter what with this placement. Now, when Mars comes into the sixth house, this is another interesting placement which is coming into play. Why? Because Mars in sixth house, you will realize, is a placement where it forms a very strong Shatruhanta Yoga. What is Shatruhanta Yoga? It is your ability to overcome your enemies. And what are your enemies? Any kind of challenges that are coming to your life. You could be facing health issues. You could be facing any kind of loans that you have undertaken. And loan is not just the financial loan that you take. Loan is sometimes you have to anticipate it as prarabdha because it is the second to the fifth. It is your dues, your pending dues that you have to pay off in any shape or form. When it is a financial loan, it is your mortgage loan, car loan, or whatever you use. It's so easy for us to understand from a loan perspective. But consider it as your dues in life. Could be your dues in relationships. It could be your dues in marriage because now Mars is sitting into the house of divorce. It is could be your dues in legal affairs and matters related to anything of that sort. Why legal affairs? Because relationships are turbulent. That's why legal issues comes into play. Litigations happen. Ambitions result into loans, result into dues because you have a desire, you have a goal, you have an objective to chase. Your enemies, when you don't have a reason to fight for, they come and make your life difficult. And the unknown obstacles as well, because it is 7th to the 12th. So when all of that is happening in your life, there cannot be anything beautiful than Mars coming and sitting into your sixth house because he gives you that energy, that courage, that stamina, that action-oriented mind frame, that spirituality as well, that leadership, that commanding behavior, that fire to overcome those challenges. Beautiful placement. This is a placement where you will realize that you, again, just like I was talking about the third house folks or the people with Mars in the Lagna, you could be a person who is very energetic in terms of bringing that daily schedule, that daily regimen into execution. You might want to follow certain discipline. You might want to hit the gym. You will do something which is laborious, which is going to be using your physical energy, accomplish some objective. And that is a good thing to happen with this Mars placement. This can bring you into professions that are related to legal matters, being an attorney, barrister, something of that sort. You could be working in departments of banking or healthcare that require you to take certain actions, surgical roles, surgery related roles as a doctor in the medicine industry, sales roles in that industry as well, where you have to travel, the MRs that we see, medical representatives traveling into different hospital chains and selling their medicines, pharmaceutical products, and things like that. That will come into play. Mathematics could be a very critical part. Technology in general, technical education, technical involvement in your job will be highly critical. Even if you're a lawyer, think how can you use technology to solve something in the field of law or medicine or banking for that matter. Bring technology. It is going to do well for you. It is going to give you the right outcomes, the right solutions. So having that sort of a mindset is also critical, but it could take you, say, make you a family lawyer, a divorce lawyer for that matter, because it is also the house of divorce. Your energy could somehow get consumed in that space, or fighting the issues of your marriage are also possible. Whilst I'm not saying this is going to result into divorce, guys, so don't misconstrue this information. I'm saying the issues of marriage is something where you'll fight your battles with because it is 12th to the 7th. From here, your Mars is going to be giving an aspect to your ninth house. Now this becomes critical because to a certain extent, it also makes you rebellious. It makes you rebellious because you want to question, you want to contradict the principles, the guidelines, ninth house's principles, protocols, your bosses, your superiors, your father.
So it can bring sometimes turbulent situation or conflict situation with any of those elements as well. You could be rebellious by nature. You want to set your own rules, your own game plan, but you are going to demolish things that come your way. It's not that you are going to demolish your bosses or your father, but you are going to demolish the obstacles. You might find, fall in alignment. We have to see the dignity, the sign placement as well of Mars. But known unknown obstacles, you are going to squash them away. It is also giving an aspect to your lagna, and that is where you have to be very, you know, you have to be observant about your personality and behavior as well, because you are going to bring a lot of factors, a lot of significances of Mars personality into your nature. You would be involved in a real estate business, real estate profession, career as well, outside of the other careers that I mentioned. You could have temper issues as well with you. You could be a hot tempered person, but a fast acting, fast decision maker as well. You could be very frugal by nature, right? And you must do something um, towards pets. Fast, high paced running pets are also a good choice for you. You could feed monkeys if you face any conflicts with your Mars placement in your sixth house. It would be a good remedy for you. Okay. Now we will talk about Mars in the seventh house. So when Mars comes into the seventh house, this is one of the most prated situations in the community that I see. And a lot of people have given a bunch of scary ideas that this is a very strong Mangal dosha. It can bring in so many challenges. And I would want you to take all that feedback with a pinch of the salt, because now this is going to be bang opposite to what we discussed with Mars in the ascendant. When Mars is coming into the seventh house, all that energy, that leadership quality, that effort is coming into the house of business, into the house of partnerships, into the house of collaboration. And what you will notice is that your pivot in terms of doing something of your own, that enterprising mindset, running your own venture, running your own business, or that extreme passion towards your partner, towards your spouse, towards marriage, towards relationship, towards sexual affairs as such could be heightened, because Mars denotes that strength, that stamina, that passion, that energy that we've been alluding to. It brings that courage, action oriented mindset in place. And I told you, Mangal dosha is nothing but a situation where you have to seek a partner that has the ability to absorb that energy as well. But because it is coming and sitting into the seventh house, you could also end up being with a partner who, basically, this is the first house for your spouse. So for you guys, you must watch the Mars and first house as well, because that will also give you an indication as to how your spouse would be like. And it'll give you a lot of clarity as to how things are panning out for you. Because now, though, that kind of energy could be eluded by your partner itself. And you will be the recipient, or you will be the seventh house of your spouse. So you should watch that section for sure. But when Mars is in this placement, from a business perspective, from running your own enterprise perspective, from your marketplace perspective, I like this placement. Yes, it is also a karaka of delays. It can cause late marriage, especially after 28. A lot of people say Mars matures in 24, 25. No, it's not applicable from a marriage perspective. And if this Mars comes in combination with Saturn or something, the delays could be further elaborated. Bunch of you who've taken readings from me, I've done more than 500, 700 readings now. You've seen that happen. Many of you would have seen that happen in your chart. So when Mars is coming into the seventh house, that energy, that spirit in terms of that fiery behavior is going to be heightened. You could do well in businesses that are associated with real estate. Trading is going to be a good area of investment for you, good area of operation for you. Mars in the seventh house could also bring you success when it comes to any kind of technical work, technology oriented work. You could do well in terms of construction, real estate, um, I investment technologies in any sector for that matter, mathematics. These are the areas that are going to give you stupendous success. When Mars is in the seventh, you will have that energy, that passion to accomplish the goals as well. But at the same time, this is coming because it is in the natural house of Libra, and that's why I'm emphasizing on that enterprising behavior. Remember, this Mars is giving a fourth aspect to your 10th. So it can bring a tricky situation of you almost becoming a workaholic as well. Like you will not know where to draw your boundaries in terms of putting a comma or a full stop. That is what this Mars can do to you. It gives an aspect back to your ascendant, to your Lagna as well. And that's why I said go back and listen to what happens with Mars and Lagna as well. Because now this Mars is going to see that whether or not you have the ability to reciprocate the energy that your partner is going to bring to the table. And more often than not, I think with this kind of placement, a native must be associated with people or with a partner or with a spouse who have that kind of a dosha in their chart. Because then you are going to find that balance in your marriage as well. It'll give you an aspect to your eighth as well. And this is where it becomes a little bit tricky because your choice of words, your communication sometimes is going to get misinterpreted in your family. People are going to misconstrue as to what you're trying to allude to. You could come across as an argumentative person as well. And when I say to you, it could be within your family or to your spouse's family, which is your in laws as well. So you will have to be extremely careful from that perspective. And that is the reason a lot of times people consider Mangal Dosha from the second house as well, or from the eighth house as well. All right. I hope this makes sense. And now we will talk about Mars in the eighth house. So when Mars is coming into the eighth house, he is coming to his own house of transformation, own house of leadership, own house of rising of the phoenix. Because eighth house is the denotion of Scorpio in a way that Scorpio energy is going to always reside in the eighth house. And when Mars comes here, he comes in a way in his natural comfort zone as well. He comes in a place where he is going to naturally show what he is capable of. So you are going to be a character. You as a native with Mars in the eighth house are a person who is going to find some level of transformation in their life and you will benefit from that transformation. Your leadership skill, your energy, your vibe in general is going to elude success. And your desires, your goals and objectives will be accomplished in life based on how you go about putting that transformation in your life, undergoing that transformation in life. This is an excellent placement for a person who wants to become a researcher, especially in the field of engineering and in field of mathematics. Like people with this combination must pursue PhD courses, research courses in their lives and see that how they can benefit in terms of their additional education in this space. Mars in the eighth house also makes you a natural occultist. Your interest in astrology, in tarot cards, in terms of discovering any form of occult sciences, going into the depths of different fields and opening the threads of the same, untangling it. You want to learn something, you want to open up that laptop, you want to open up that phone, that microwave, that refrigerator, and you want to fix it. You want to figure out what's wrong with it. You want to go into the details of the issues. And that is why placement of Mars in the eighth house, it makes you an excellent engineer. It makes you an excellent problem solver. You could be a very sound detective with this sort of a combination, spy kind of work, sniper energy, sharpshooter kind of energy will come naturally to you in this placement. You will do very, very well because you are very meticulous. Remember, Mars is that police, Mars is that martial art related person. Your ability to learn any of those forms, any of those art forms. It's an art form in a way. See, absorbing the energy of any of those art forms is also going to come very naturally to you. And you are going to excel in that place. It can make you an astrologer. Yes, you could benefit out of that situation as well. And you have to understand that because Mars sitting from here aspects your 11th house, your kind of company you keep, You are going to be extremely protective about your friends. You could be possessive about your certain set of friends, but at the same time, you are a chaser at heart. You like to chase your objectives, your goals. You set your eye on something, you become possessive about it. It is almost like rebellious. It is very hard for you, for anybody for that matter, to deviate you from your path. So it's a good sign in a way, but it can also make you extremely rigid by nature. And that rigidity is reflected with this Mars aspect into the second house as well. And that is where, if you've not had a chance, guys, if you're watching this section, also watch the Mars in second house section, because you will be able to understand what kind of challenges can come into play. When you are getting that aspect of Mars in the second, you could be seen as argumentative within your family or even in the larger world, because sometimes, because of the research you've done, because of the depth that you've got into, you have a lot of clarity, but the larger world, the opposite world, might not be able to see the depth of it. So when you force your point, they will see you as an irritating personality. It's giving an aspect into the second and the third house both. And that is where it becomes critical. But you could be a person who likes to work out. You could be a person who likes to, do physical activities, travel to different places, usually short distances. That is your success area. Whenever you get frustrated, whenever things are not working out for you, you must take a short distance travel within your city limits. Just do it by yourself and go and enjoy some kind of delicacy. Sweet tooth, being person who enjoys sweets, desserts of different kinds, naturally comes to you guys. It's a natural thing. You might have a very strong sweet tooth. And whenever you feel bad, even you feel low, you might want to consume something of that sort, or maybe just take a drive out, consume some dessert outside, and then come back. You will see that you are regenerated as well. All right. I hope that makes sense. Now, when Mars is in the ninth house, this becomes a very interesting situation, because now you will realize is that it is going into the house of principles. It is going into the house that represents your superiors, your bosses. It is the house that showcases your relationship with your father himself. It is your fortune, your destiny. And Mars coming into this house is going to showcase that you are going to bring that enthusiasm, that energy, that impetus, that leadership, that action, that stamina into all these areas of life. First and foremost, that I notice is that a lot of times with people with Mars in the ninth, they are rebellious by nature. They like to disrupt, they like to challenge the protocol, they want to question what is being taught to them. They want to know why this principle, why this protocol, why this in religion, why that in spirituality. There is a constant fight, and acceptance is not natural. Acceptance comes, but Mars wants to know why. And he wants to dictate his or her own perspective as well with this placement. Now, since Mars is sitting into the house of spirituality, it is sitting in the house of religion, and it is also giving an aspect to the 12th house, which is like the next level progression of this dharma to Mars. Here is going to give a person a tendency to first challenge and then absorb and then run into, even protect if need be, the beliefs that they build. They bring a very transformative energy with this placement here. When Mars is in the ninth house, you will always have some level of discomfort in terms of the mindset between you and your father. It could bring temper issues to your father as well, or they could bring in a lot of that energy, which I was alluding to in the start of the video, that courage, that action, that larger than life nature, that commanding behavior in his life, in his profession, in his career, or within the family itself, because it is his lagna now. It is his first house, so you could notice those kind of attributes coming into your father as well. But more often than not, it gives some sort of a discomfort in terms of the relationship that comes. If that is something that you've not observed, then many a times I've noticed that it is reflected into your profession with your bosses, with your superiors, with the management where you are operating in, with your customers if you are a business person yourself. So you have to be watchful and bring control in terms of your expression as well. But with that Mars aspect into the fourth, it also makes a person highly spiritual by nature. You will have that belief system in you that will get built after a certain level of transformation in your mind. Why do I say transformation? Because Mars from here is giving an eighth aspect, transformative aspect to your fourth. Your emotions, your mindset, your mother, your empathy could develop because of that change, that pivot that you experience in your life. It will also be an indicator of person following the footsteps of profession of your father. You could follow their footsteps. You could be, in an engineering field, fire related work, electrical related work, technology related work, mathematics related professions, even chef, kitchen related work could be of interest to you, or you could be in real estate itself. You could find yourself highly successful in any of these professions. Relationships with your siblings will also be a little bit tricky, turbulent. There's a high chance that you could get misunderstood by them, especially your brothers. You have to be careful when it comes to driving or ownership of assets as well. Some sort of risk loss is is possible, that could come into play. Brushing off some part of the car whilst you are driving. I'm not saying any major risk, nothing fatal, hopefully. So I don't want you to be spamming me in terms of comments that Dave, I'm shit scared on that. No, Dave is not into fear mongering. You guys know that. I'm not that kind of a guy. But that risk is there, especially in the Dashantar, Dasha of Mars. That probability could come into play. But of course, you have to look into the degree of Mars as well. But transformative thing on your assets is a probability. And that is why sometimes one of the remedies is to name the assets in somebody else's name. All right. Now, when Mars is in the 10th house, I like this placement. Beautiful placement. I love this placement because this is where Mars gets this beautiful directional strength. It is a natural house and placement of exaltation for Mars. He is a fighter, a commander, an achiever, goal oriented person who is getting that task at hand. He's getting the house of karma. He loves this placement. Jupiter gets debilitated here. Jupiter likes to give gyan, do this, do that. Mars is a fighter. He wants to execute, he wants to accomplish the goals. Even a debilitated Mars can excel, can deliver great outcomes here. So when you have Mars coming into the 10th house, you become a person who's extremely driven, goal oriented, a person who wants to get things done. Sorry for my language here, but get shit done. That is what this Mars gives you. And if you are not getting shit done, you are not doing justice to your chart here, my friend. As a native, you must understand that this is a beautiful placement that God has blessed you with. You had some good transformative karma in your past life as well. Remember, the fifth connection with the 10th house is happening here because of that eighth transformative spiritual aspect of Mars. So you've got this placement with a blessing. You have to use it to the fullest, or else it is injustice to your own chart. But when Mars comes to the 10th, what you will realize is you are a person who wants to act on your karmas, who would not sit idle on your karmas. You could be a person who is related into the field of land, property, real estate, that kind of business. Very, very good for person who's associated with that. Again, it will depend how successful you are with the sign placement of Mars as well. That becomes very critical. But even beyond that, it will bring you into the fields of technical knowledge, technical education, engineering for that matter, working in the field of IT and technology, working in the field of electrical engineering. fire related work, fire industry, kitchen, chef, that kind of a profession, surgical profession, working in the um, in the field of medicine, surgery is going to be very good for you. You could be picking into profession that utilizes your high end energy. You could be working in a sector that involves like defense forces, spy sort of work, agencies where you have to run commands. But if this is an afflicted Mars, it can make you a mercenary as well. Affliction with a Ketu or a troubled Saturn, Rahu, that is what you can anticipate. You could become a mercenary. But that is how this capable, this driven, this Mars can be. It can be extremely purpose driven. If given a direction, if given an objective, if given a goal, it can help you achieve anything. You could be working in terms of spreading the words towards spirituality as well, going from one land to another to express that. So when Mars is coming into the 10th house, profession becomes very critical. Workaholism becomes almost natural to a person. And Saturn's placement is also critical in this situation. But when Mars is there, I would never recommend a person to go into professions that are related to Jupiter. Even if you have, you know, I mean, we have to, of course, I don't want to give a blanket statement here. You have to look into the dashas and Shadban and the dignity of Mars overall. But usually, what I find is that it brings a very strong character, a very strong personality to the person. It is giving an aspect to your Lagna. So you will elude some of the traits of a person that has Mars and Lagna. You must go and watch that section of the video. That energy, that hot tempered behavior could also be a part of your personality. You could be very, very driven from that perspective. But at the same time, this Mars is giving an aspect to the fourth house, which is your knowledge, which is your throne, what you own, your kingdom. And Mars is going to make you protective towards that. You are going to work hard to build an empire for yourself because that is what you want to accomplish and achieve. And at the same time, there is some level of natural transformation that you've undergone in your life all throughout. You've seen that in the past as well. You've got this placement because of that transformative behavior in your past life karmas. And it is going to be evident. And you might pass it on to your children as well, because that is where it is giving an aspect, that protective energy, that guidance, that mentorship, that ambition is going to trickle onto them as well. It also makes you very passionate as a lover, as a romantic personality, because it is giving an aspect to the fifth house. So you have to be careful here because you could come across extremely difficult in your romantic relationships. You could get highly misunderstood and you will only succeed in romances if you are able to be with a partner who is able to reciprocate or absorb that sort of an energy coming in from you, right? So I hope this was helpful. We will now talk about Mars in the 11th house. Now, when Mars is coming into the 11th house, this is a placement where it is coming into the house of wish fulfillment. It is coming into the house of desires. It is coming into the house of goals and objectives, your additional source of income, the side hustle that you want to run around. It is your network, your friend circle as well. And somewhere you will notice that when Mars is coming to the 11th house, a person is extremely motivated, extremely filled of desires to achieve his desires as well. His desire would be accomplish his desires. His energy, effort, focal of life is going to be directed towards those areas. So people will 11th, you will notice that your friend circle, first of all, becomes your biggest strength. In cases of adversity, if your Mars is decently placed, you can leverage your friend circle itself, expand outdo to achieve the growth, accomplish the desires, the objectives that you have in mind over a period of time with your friend network. But an afflicted Mars can actually bring in a situation where they could be jealous of your growth and success as well. So you have to be watchful in this front. They might not tell you this front, but that is a possibility with this Mars placement too. But you will realize that this more often than not will give you the possibility of rising up in leadership positions, high up in your career. You could be a person who's always chasing that tall dream, that big target to accomplish something, in terms of the projects that you are undertaking. If you are in a job, the kind of next level growth, the next promotion that you are working towards, or if you are running your own enterprise, how do you accomplish the next target for yourself? You never like to rest. This is the second from the 10th house. It is the third from your ninth. That rebellious nature also comes in you. You are going to rise like a phoenix from the ashes to achieve your goals and objectives and make sure that you accomplish what you want to, because of that third energy coming into play. And your desires will also be a reason for transformation in your life. Your desires are the reason that you have this energy, this strength and stamina, that passion that you carry within yourself, that I have to accomplish this, will also be the reason of transformation in your life. You will have to see some kind of a pivot which changes every aspect. Now remember, when you bring that level of passion in your 11th house, that level of energy, that leadership, that accomplishment, what happens is that rubs off in terms of you wanting all the more. Somewhere that adoration will come from the world, somewhere that acceptance will also come to the world because it becomes highly attractive. But it also brings the risk of a person of not knowing when to stop. And, there was this poem. Um, I'm just missing the verses of the saying, but it was something like, "No time to stand and stare. What is this life full of care?" Please go and check that out, guys. It was a beautiful one, and I think I was in grade sixth or seventh when I was listening to this one, and I never understood the meaning of it. I don't know why and how it just popped into my mind right now. I'm also going to read that poem after this video, but the reason I'm calling that out is that it doesn't let you stop. No time to stand and stare. What is this life full of care? That's what happens to you, because Mars is going to continue to pump that audacity, that ambition, that dream, that strength, that you continue to build one goal after the other, one desire after the other. And it can tire you down as well. It can break you down as well. So that is one of the biggest repercussions that you can face with this Mars placement. This Mars is giving an aspect to your fourth house. You could be harsh at times towards your family in terms of the kind of choices of words you have. Makes you very frugal by nature. The external world considers you to be miser, but you're not a miser. You're frugal in terms of your personality. And because it is Mars, listen to what I said when Mars is in the second house. It gives you the possibility of sweet tooth, desire towards very specific kinds of food that you want to consume most of the times. That is what is something that is going to come naturally to you, to the level of gluttony at times. It gives an aspect to your seventh as well. You are calculative, you are meticulous when it comes to your approach towards investing. Mathematics could be good when in terms of your own knowledge, or your child could also be sound in their mathematical knowledge, their knowledge of engineering subjects. Your education could be related to any of the avenues that I was referring to before in the 10th house discussion as well, in the fifth house discussion as well. That engineering field related to mathematics, fields related to fire, electrical, real estate, that kind of an education is also going to be fruitful for you. And from here, Mars also forms a very good Shatru Hanta Yog for you. It gives you the ability to overcome the obstacles and challenges. Your energy is going to be consumed in fighting out those battles as well. The dues that are due, you will fight them out. And sometimes you build those dues because of the desires that you've put in place. And it is an endless cycle. It is sixth from the sixth, and that is why this happens. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that analysis. Now, when we move into Mars in the 12th house, This is a place where Mars is coming into the heights or the depth, if I may say, of spirituality, of enlightenment, of expenses as well. And a fast moving planet coming into the house of expenses, first thing I can tell you is people who are not thinking and observing this from a level of spirituality, you will find the kind of expenses that you get with this placement could be very high, extremely exorbitant. You are a person who would want to buy a lot of gadgets, new technology, new products. The moment they come in the market, you want to get a hold of it, and you want to buy it. You want to use it. But you can change the game if you start spending your money on real estate. Start buying land. Start buying property if you have Mars in the 12th house. And don't ever sell it. Keep consuming it. Keep adding it to your kitty. That's an excellent remedy if Mars is in the 12th house for you, folks. Because it is going to bring stupendous success for the next generation to follow. You can pass on your assets as legacy. 12th house is something that you leave for somebody else. So instead of being a consumer and absorbing everything, consuming everything for yourself, you might want to consider passing that on, and that is where you have to spend that effort and energy doing that. But your quest will also become enlightenment. Your quest will also become learning something new. Your quest will also be in some material matters too. Like you could fall asleep like a whim. That's the beauty that comes into play with Mars here. But remember, I said Mars represents spirituality. Outside of its leadership, charisma, action oriented mindset, he also brings spirituality. Why? Because he understands transformation. He rules Scorpio. And when that Scorpio energy is coming into 12th, it heightens, takes it from the discovery, from one moksha to another level of moksha. And that is where you could be rebellious. You could be transformative in your entire perspective of spirituality itself. You could have a very different connotation, a very different meaning to how you see spirituality in general. This is an excellent placement if you want to pursue your career in export and import as well. You could flourish in an international market, but I will not commit to it unless and until I see some other combinations also coming into play. Because many a times there is a possibility that it might only be related to real estate, spending and buying and purchasing in those areas. But yes, it does give you a window to go abroad. Now, Mars here can also give you the ability to put in a lot of, see, one tricky bit is Mangal dosha will come into play. But as I've mentioned about Mangal dosha with Mars in the 4th house, in the 7th house, in the Lagna, even in the 8th, I will tell you, this is where you will have to be with a partner who has the ability absorb your passion, to absorb your energy and work in tandem with you. So please do not get into all these astrologers who are doing fear mongering across how detrimental Mangal dosha can be for you. No. But yes, it does tend to bring the risk of delays. It does tend to bring the risk of argumentative situations. So if you want to understand that bit, go and check out the 1st house, 7th house, 4th house videos as well. Get a perspective there of Mars in those placements. It will give you a sense. But with its 8th aspect, giving its 8th aspect to the 7th house, it can bring some of those challenges. It is also giving an aspect to your 7th house, means Shatru Anta Yoga is going to be there. You will have the ability to overcome those problems, overcome the challenges that are going to come to you in your life. The Mars aspect is also into the 3rd, folks. And it's a good aspect, because this is where this Mars is going to give you that energy to fight, to bring your hard work to the front. You could be very much oriented towards sports, hobbies that require physical labor. You could prefer outdoor sports instead of indoor games. But you will have to be careful that your energy could get wasted into solving issues of your siblings, especially your brothers. There could be some sort of a commotion, some sort of a misunderstanding, yet you find peace with them. That is another beautiful element to this, because it's a protective energy. You care. It's a possessive energy that comes into play. But all in all, whenever I see Mars in the 12th, I say, you must buy land, you must buy property. Do not buy depreciating assets. Try and buy appreciating assets. Because anyways, the expense is happening, right? And you will have tendencies to enjoy new technology a lot. So better try and accomplish something that at least mounts by itself. It grows in worth by itself. Last but not the least, Mars placement here is excellent for spirituality. You must expose yourself, you know, embrace your rebellious nature to an extent and expose yourself towards learning new things, towards, um, because see, Mars understands depth. It's a Scorpio, and he is ready to explore the depth of Pisces as well. So that belief system also exists in you. It's just that your path of spirituality, your path of religious beliefs could be a little different. You might not want to follow what you see in your surroundings, in your vicinity. All right. I hope, guys, this was a video that gives you a lot of perspective as to what Mars does across the board. If you have enjoyed watching this video, then please smash on that like button, subscribe to Dev Astrology, and keep watching. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya.